Hello, welcome. So we're going to be doing our first notes unit. And so what you're going to do is you're going to pull up the notes, and here's a video that you can watch multiple times if you would like to go over the notes for chapter one. So you are in environmental science. Environmental science is related to the field of ecology, and they're all interconnected because it's the study of Earth. So since this is a science class, we are going to be doing the scientific method review recap. Now, the scientific method review recap is not going to be very in depth right now because, once again, you've been exposed to the scientific method in kindergarten all the way up until eighth grade, and any other science you've had, possibly in high school. So, the scientific method is really the process of answering a question or solving a problem. So, the main steps we have are, first off, identify a problem or question, collect data about the problem or the question. So, this would be going out and asking people, hey, have you ever solved this? So, let's say that my cell phone, after I did an update, is no longer letting me access one of my apps. So my problem is, why can't I get in there and play my Balloons Tower Defense 2? So the first thing I might do is I might go up to my husband and be like, hey, when you did the phone update, are you also having problems with your Monkey's Balloons Tower Defense 2? What did you do to fix it? We'll talk about it. I'll collect that data. I might go online and read through the app information on the Play Store to find out what did people do to try to troubleshoot this. I might even post a question and be like, hey, how do you fix this? I'm going to collect all of that data to figure out how to solve my problem. And then I'm going to create my hypothesis. So this is my if-then statement. So if I update the app itself, the Balloons Tower Defense app, I will be able to play it. So that's going to be my hypothesis that's going to be made based off of all the data that I've collected. Now, in order for me to test or do an experiment, my hypothesis has to be testable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to conduct my experiment now. I have my problem, which is my monkey game won't play. I've collected data, so I've read through forums and I've talked to my husband to see what his solution was. My hypothesis is I'm going to go into the Play Store and update my game and see if that fixes it. And now I'm going to conduct the experiment. So after I have updated the game on the Play Store, I'm going to be like, okay, can I get into it? And I will try to launch the game. Now, if I'm able to launch the game, my hypothesis was correct. If I was not able to launch the game, my hypothesis was incorrect, and I can go back to the collect the data process, form a new hypothesis, and do a new experiment. Now, how am I going to know if my hypothesis was correct or not, or my experiment was successful, or what happened? Well, in this game, in this situation, my quantitative data is going to be how much space is on my phone versus how much it needs. Is there enough space for me to run this game? So a quantitative, which is going to be dealing with the numbers, is going to tell me, do I have the space able to run the game? If I do, I'll be able to download it, update it, and launch it. If I don't have the space, that could be the problem, and I need to go through and delete other apps. Next thing, qualitative data. So qualitative deals with appearance. If I'm able to launch it, then I'm going to ask myself, is it launching the way I want to? Does the game play well? If it does, great. If it doesn't, what are the issues that I'm seeing? Is the image not good? Is the sound not good? Is it very laggy? Those are all things that are qualitative. And those are all going to be things that I use in my conclusion to sum up and say whether or not my hypothesis was correct. All right, so now we're going to talk about Earth. So we live on Earth. We're the third planet from the sun. Whoop, whoop. But we're also the only planet in our solar system to knowingly support life, which means that we're the only ones to know to have life here on Earth. And when we say life, we mean organisms. Everything that has the ability to reproduce and exist. And organisms are found in all the three main parts of Earth: the lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere. Now, these three words are vocabulary terms that you have hopefully looked up, defined, and submitted. The lithosphere is going to be the first one we're going to talk about, and that's going to be the layer of land forming Earth's surface. The second one we're going to talk about is going to be the hydrosphere, which is all the water on Earth. And then the third one is going to be the atmosphere, which is all the gases that surround and protect Earth, which include nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and water vapor. So let's look a little bit more about Earth. So one of the reasons why Earth can actually support life is because we have liquid water. We have streams, we have ponds, we have creeks, we have oceans. All this liquid water has a very unique trait. When the sun beats down on it, it absorbs the heat over a longer period of time. When this heat has been absorbed, at night, when the temperature around the water drops, the water slowly releases that heat, which means that the average surface temperature of Earth has an average. It does not fluctuate wildly. Like if we were on Mars, we would be, let's say, 100 degrees during the day, negative 100 degrees during night. But because there's liquid water, we are at a constant about 62 degrees as an average around Earth. So that's really awesome. So, Earth's unique. It has life because of liquid water. Well, the lithosphere, as I told you, is a layer made of rocks. It is made of three different types of rocks: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. So, igneous rocks are going to be rocks that form when liquid rock, aka magma or lava, cools. Sedimentary rocks are going to be layers of sediments which get pushed together and glued together. And metamorphic rocks are going to be transformed by heat and pressure. So those would be igneous, sedimentary, or other metamorphic rocks that just get changed. Now I'm going to show you two different diagrams. This one is a very colorful rock cycle. It shows you how we go from igneous rock to the weathering of the igneous rock to the erosion and transportation of the sediments to the deposits of the sediments, the burying of the sediments, and that makes the sedimentary rock. And then the sedimentary rock gets exposed to heat and pressure and turns into a metamorphic rock, which then melts, cools, and becomes an igneous rock. So this is a very basic rock cycle that is very colorful. We're going to look at this one right here. And this one's different because it's not colorful. It doesn't have the images, but it shows you that this rock cycle is not a one direction. That igneous rock can remelt to become a different igneous rock, or it could become a metamorphic rock. The sedimentary rock could melt to become an igneous rock, could become a different sedimentary rock, could become a metamorphic rock. Same thing with the metamorphic rock. It could melt to become an igneous rock. It could transform and become a different metamorphic rock. It could become a sedimentary rock. So the rock cycle just shows that everything cycles through. It never stops. It is always continuously changing. So lithosphere is all the rocks, sedimentary, igneous, and metamorphic. The hydrosphere is going to be all the water. So Earth is made of 70% water, 30% is land. Out of all the water on Earth, 97% of it is salty. So that's found in oceans, lakes, seas. The 3% that is not salt water is fresh water, and this is found in lakes, ponds, streams, underground water systems, up in the atmosphere, ice caps. And you're going to notice that in the underground systems, we have something called an aquifer. So an aquifer is going to be where rock that is porous, which means that it has holes in it or it can absorb water or let water pass through it, is where we're going to find the underground waters. And that's what we tend to usually tap into to make our wells. Now, the next one is going to be the atmosphere. And the atmosphere is all the gases that surround Earth and make it so that we can breathe. The atmosphere does a few different things. So to understand what the atmosphere does, you have to understand that the atmosphere is made up of 4 to 5 different layers. The 4 main layers, starting at Earth's surface, is going to be the troposphere, which has mostly water vapor, a lot of weather. Then we're going to go into the stratosphere. So this is going to be the second layer, the stratosphere. It's above the troposphere. It has the ozone. This means that it's Mother Nature's sunscreen. After the stratosphere, we have our mesosphere. This is going to be the coldest layer of the atmosphere. It's where we have meteor showers happening. There's not too much known about the mesosphere because it's in an awkward place. After the mesosphere, the 4th layer is the thermosphere. This is one of the outermost layers, and it's very hot because of its proximity to the sun and the gases that are found in it. Now, there is a 5th layer that if you take Earth science, you'll learn more about, which is the exosphere. And when you do the atmosphere digital exploration a little bit later this week, you will learn more about the exosphere. But for this class, I want you to focus mainly on the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere. So all 4 of those layers work together and they make up our atmosphere. Our atmosphere is composed of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% of every other gas that ends up making up the atmosphere. And that could be water vapor, dust particles, ammonia, carbon monoxide, so many other gases, they're all there. So here's a diagram that shows you a little bit more about the 4 layers. So once again, starting at Earth, we have our troposphere, which is the weather, water vapor, hot air balloons. The stratosphere is the ozone layer, which is Earth's sunscreen. It's also where we have a lot of commercial flights. The mesosphere is where we have our shooting stars, and the thermosphere is where we're going to have the ionosphere, which is the northern lights, where we're going to have satellites and space exploration. So the atmosphere, the lithosphere, and the hydrosphere all come together to make what we call the biosphere. So the biosphere was also one of your vocabulary terms, and it's all the parts of Earth that support and contain life. In other words, this is everything from the bottom of the ocean floor to the tops of the mountains, because there's life there. The biosphere is actually a very thin layer of Earth because it does not make up a lot of the Earth compared to the lithosphere or the atmosphere. It's a very small area. Kind of think of it like the skin of an apple. Every organism on Earth gets everything they need to live from existing in the biosphere. So they get the air that they need to breathe from the atmosphere, the water they need to sustain themselves from the hydrosphere. They get the ground to live off of for plants to grow out of from the lithosphere. Everything comes from that. With that said, all organisms are going to be affected by any changes in the biosphere, which means that if I have an earthquake and my ground gets split open, my lithosphere has changed. That's going to impact how I can live. If I cause a lot of air pollution and I make it so that it's hard for me to be able to see where I'm going, I've now changed my atmosphere. If I pour chemicals into my water supply, I've now changed my hydrosphere. So all of this is connected. All organisms affect their biosphere, and all the biospheres affect the animals. So ecology is one of the parts of environmental science. It's one of the sciences that are involved in environmental science. And we define ecology as interactions among non-living and living things of Earth. So this would be abiotic, which would be non-living, and biotic factors, which would be the living parts of Earth. We're going to look and see, how do the rocks and the soil impact the plants and animals that live there? How do the different gases and the temperature, the sunlight impact the way that animals live? We look at the living creatures and we figure out, what do they do in the environment? Do they burrow holes and make it so that we can break down rocks? What do they eat? How does that impact the environment? So what you're going to be studying in this class is literally all of these interactions.